Hello and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. This is a weekly show where brands watch other brands' ads.
It's asking quite a lot of the user to go sit through hours of content in the hope that they'll get the right clues.
It's like a spike of hope and then this flat line of no.
My name is Tom Wallerton. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, and we are brought to you as ever by our lovely partners Contagious, who helped source the ad this week. But before we get to this week's ad, let's meet this week's guests.
I'm Charlotte Ford. I'm head of brand marketing and engagement for heycar UK, which is an online car marketplace.
Hi, I'm Bian Salins, and I run my own consulting company, Bian Salins Consulting, but I'm working at LumonPay, which is a foreign currency exchange experts.
Right. Fantastic. I, as ever, have very high expectations of your critique of this week's ad. Let's have a look.
So I started the unthinkable task of actually trying to get ads to target me. Free phone plays. Now this has got the internet going crazy.
So Samsung are hiding free phones in YouTube ads.
The idea is, as I understand it, you're effectively trying to engineer the algorithm into showing it to you.
Google the right keywords to get this ad to target you.
Galaxy Z Flip 4.
Z Flip 4 battery life.
How much does the Z Flip 4 weigh?
Mine doesn't do it, it doesn't do it.
I know.
The most interesting part of the design is the folding screen.
God. Oh my God. 0 to 50% in like 30 minutes.
Hair to the yeah.
Yeah.
How good do you think this is? 1, 2, 3.
I think it's a 3 for me.
Yeah. This makes me very stressed because I can only imagine what the account management team there went through to get this live. It is brilliant, but it's very complicated.
User-generated content has obviously worked before, like Coke, for example. This was Australia only, from what I understand. I found it a little bit too complex if they had taken this into a worldwide this thing. I certainly didn't get it at first point. But it was a clever use of Google. That's what I would say.
It's asking quite a lot of the user to go sit through hours of content in the hope that they'll get the right clues to find the right search terms to get to their phone. I think 34% in sales, that's a great stat. How are you measuring that? How is that being attributed? What's your time frame that you're measuring that? It's tricky to attribute that entirely to sales. So I would love to know how they did that. The sales stat is probably the strongest one, but it's the one that's hardest to back up unless they actually release their own data.
The thing that I liked about it is they'd have realized that Gen Z want to be marketed to in a different way. They value their privacy. They don't want to be advertised to in the way we know advertising. And they've tried to play very much into that insight from that audience. So I want to give them credit for thinking about new ways of marketing to an audience that everybody's trying to figure out.
Gen Z want to be marketed to in a different way. I think that's a really strong insight. And actually that's more compelling than saying they don't like advertising. It's not that they're not receptive to advertising. It's just they want to be advertised to in a different way. I mean, we talk a lot about Gen Z not consuming TV or linear TV anymore. And actually, Channel 4 did some research a few months ago around Gen Z, just for the UK, but it talked about Gen Z watch 5 hours of content a day. And it's not all short form, 6-second bumpers on YouTube. It's long form. It's long form. So they definitely do watch content. They definitely are being advertised to. It's just in different spaces. And that's why I think companies like Samsung need to go out and find those spaces in order to actually market to them, which is, I think, what they've done very well with this.
I type in Samsung Galaxy, whatever, I get to see like tons of other people's content. But because I've interacted with that, I'm then put into a retargeting pool, and then I get served an ad that says you're close to unlocking, whatever the first clip. So that's how it worked effectively from my perspective. And I mean, in a way, I guess really exposing unbranded content was a clever way of getting your brand equity through social proof. Ultimately, I think the role of marketing and advertising is not just to create that initial spike, but to sustain it and create memorability and to be able to create long-term, sustainable in revenue and brand equity. And I would love to know, 6 to 12 months on, are they still seeing the benefits of that kind of brand advertising?
I think also people are used to having smartphones now and are used to having the latest tech. And that starts much earlier in life than it did for, older generations. So I think I'm slightly worried about my 4-year-old eyeing up my iPhone the other day, but I have to have that battle. But I think that's the thing. People are more used to having high quality tech and carrying it around in their pocket than perhaps we are, and maybe that's why they've gone after this generation, and it's sort of directly targeted against iPhone users. Who knows? What would constitute success for you in terms of numbers for a massive challenger like Samsung?
Sometimes it's also about the investment you've put in to it. If they've put in a low level of investment, which seems like they're indicating, and they've got that kind of return in terms of sales and I would say longevity, because most brands that I've worked at, when they've done these short-term spikes, but they haven't been, it's like a spike of hope and then this flat line of no. Effectively, you get questioned by the business around what is the actual ROI of marketing, what is the purpose of this campaign, and then you don't get the investment for the next time. So for me, it's about sustainable success and making sure you're getting the ROI on what you're investing in.
I've actually just done a competition in partnership with a retailer where we gave a car away to their database. Now, my objective for that was pretty cold-blooded, in that I really wanted to grow heycar's email database. And we did. We ended up tripling it in 2 months. And that's where it's like, okay, that made sense. That's the return on investment. That was pretty good because we just gave away a car. We didn't have to pay for anything else. I think something like this, it does look fairly reasonably cheap to execute. I think you've got influencer fees, things like that, but cost of the campaign with Google. But ultimately, they're giving away their own product. So that's the kind of, it's not like they're spending millions on TV. I can imagine they spent millions on TV as well. So I think that's the point around what was your return on investment on this specific campaign? And then actually, what did it deliver? Because if that campaign did the 34% uplift in sales, that's pretty impressive. Well, unfortunately, we're at the end of the show. Would you sign off this campaign? Would you sign it off in its current form? Yes or no? Thumbs up. 1, 2, 3.
I'd sign it off. I think I'd sign it off.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining the show today, guys. We will see you all next week.